Welcome everyone who's just jumping online. You are about to be taken through what CBS Co-op Building Supplies Cooperative is. My name is Trudy Atherton from Builders Base, and you're actually lucky enough to be sitting in on first of a series of webinars where it's kind of like Ask the Expert webinars, where we interview people from the industry and find out sort of more in depth about what they're doing rather than just a sales pitch or whatever. And just a little bit about Builders Base. Obviously what we're trying to do is bring the construction industry together, make it easier for people to find out information, for associations to know what other associations are doing and suppliers, etc. So that just helps everyone work sort of more closely together and work as a team. Fire your questions through. I'll be keeping an eye on those as we go through, and I will be interrupting Mike and asking him those questions and getting the lowdown on what's going on with the new co-op. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Mike, and he will start taking you through the ins and outs of the CBS co-op.
Very good. Okay. So I'm just going to share my screen so that everyone can see the presentation. Can you see that, Trudy?
Yeah, yep.
Right, okay. So hello everyone, my name's Mike Blackburn. I'm one of the directors and one of the sort of founders of Combined Building Supplies Cooperative. My day job, before the cooperative become my day job as a management consultant, I spent a lot of time working with small and medium-sized builders. And one of the things that I found over the years of working with builders is that often, certainly the small guys, they really lack the buying power of the larger group home builders. And so that was where the idea of the cooperative came from, was by getting a whole bunch of small and medium-sized builders together and using their combined volume to go out to the market and negotiate the same rates as group home builders get. We launched the cooperative in April of this year, so really only been sort of trading for about 6 months. We launched with a trade show here in Canterbury, and we were very fortunate enough to have Phil Twyford, who's the Minister of Housing, to come along and give a keynote speech. So here's just a sort of quick video of what he had to say.
I want to address the elephant in the room here. And that is that in New Zealand, we pay over the odds for building supplies. We're paying significantly more than the Australians do for exactly the same building materials. Now, there's a lot of things that we have to do in this country to fix the housing crisis. There's a lot of different things. Some of them government can do, some of them industry can do. We need a planning system that encourages growth and encourages people to build and doesn't constantly try and stop them from building. We need to find new ways of financing infrastructure, because that's a real roadblock to allowing our cities to make room for growth. There's a bunch more, but one of the things that we have to do is to reduce build costs, to find higher levels of productivity, and to drive down the unjustifiably high cost of building materials that you face and your firms face in your daily work.
Now, Mike, just to interrupt you there, I was actually at that event, which it was a fantastic event. You've got another one coming up next week, just before you kick off, that I think people in the Auckland area might want to hear a little bit about as well.
Yeah, look, absolutely, Trudy. I mean, obviously we started here in Canterbury, and sort of just to sort of basically sort of prove the business model, to make sure that we could get some really good deals for builders, and things have gone tremendously well. I'll sort of talk a little bit about our numbers a little bit later on, but we've now got 14 New Zealand-wide suppliers, so we're able to sort of provide these deals all over the country right now, and we're launching into the Auckland market starting next Wednesday. So we've got an event at the Manukau Cruising Club in Onehunga. So anyone who would like to come along and find out a little bit more, or talk to some of our suppliers, can sort of do that. And I think you're going to send out a copy of our invitation to everyone as well, aren't you?
Yep, I'll be there. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Good as gold. So look, in a nutshell, the business model of the cooperative is simply to use the combined buying power of small and medium-sized builders. You know, guys building 1, 5, 10 houses a year, who probably aren't getting much better than sort of trade rates from their suppliers. Is to use their combined volume and to get the same sort of rates as group home building companies across the country. So again, I've got another wee video that I want to show you guys here, which is sort of just summarises CBS and what we do. Are you getting the best deal on building supplies? At CBS, we're using the combined buying power of smaller builders to negotiate the same rates as the larger group home builders get.
The opportunity for them is enormous. So for us as a supplier, it really ultimately was a bit of a no-brainer to be involved.
We want to be at the forefront of it, and we think it's a really good idea, and we want to be a part of it.
We do have an offer that encompasses everything the industry really needs.
Combined Building Supplies Cooperative, putting the buying power back into your hands. So again, just to sort of sum that up again, it's by using by bringing smaller builders together, we've been able to go out to the marketplace and negotiate with suppliers across the country for literally all aspects of a build, the opportunity to sort of bring those same rates as group home builders get. So where we are at the moment, as I said, we sort of started in Canterbury. We've got 73 Christchurch building companies and just short of 100 builders across New Zealand. So that's really allowed us to negotiate some really, really good deals. This graph that I've shown you here, this is the top builders in Canterbury. Obviously, a year ago it was Mike Greer who was building the most number of houses, but we've got a new player in the market, Williams Corporation. They're building a lot of sort of small 1 and 2 bedroom sort of central city apartments. But over the last 12 months, they've built 112 apartments. If we took the 73 builders here in Christchurch and just said on average they were building just 2 houses a year, and I think that's relatively conservative, then that clearly makes CBS the largest buyer of building supplies in Canterbury. And I believe that by this time next year, CBS will be the largest buyer of building supplies across New Zealand. So why have we chosen a cooperative as our business model? Well, cooperatives are a proven business model for small companies to get together and use their collective buying power. Fonterra and Farmlands are probably 2 of the best known examples. Of course, cooperatives are owned and controlled by its members. So all the builders buy shares in the cooperative, and essentially they own and run the business. Obviously, all of our profits go back to the shareholders. So any rebate that we get from our suppliers, and I'll talk about that in a minute, that goes back to all the shareholders. And probably the only other option that builders really have today to get access to the same sort of deals would be to buy into a franchise, to a Signature Homes or a Stonewood or something like that. But of course, the difficulty there is that you're told where you buy your building supplies from. You must buy your building materials from here, and you buy your windows from here, and you get your concrete from here. The advantage of being part of the cooperative is choice. So we believe we've negotiated some really, really good deals. But as a member of the cooperative, you are free to pick and choose. If you've got a really good relationship with your sales rep for a particular company, then you can continue to deal with them, or you can get a price from the suppliers to the cooperative.
I've got a quick question here.
Yep.
Sorry. Someone who's there asking, why hasn't this been done before? We haven't seen a cooperative in New Zealand before.
Look, really good question. I get asked that a lot. I mean, given how many cooperatives there are across different industries, it really is a bit of a surprise as to why no one's sort of done this in the construction industry before. But the truth is, Trudy, as you well know, because you and I have worked together for a while now, it's been really hard. The phrase "herding cats" comes to mind. Trying to get a bunch of smaller builders together to work together has certainly been a challenge. It's sort of taken us sort of literally 2 years to get enough builders together and suppliers together so that we can actually get this thing across the line. But the more people we talk to, people go, "Wow, what a bloody good idea! It's great that someone's finally done this." So to talk a little bit about exactly how the cooperative works. In order to become a shareholder in the cooperative, you've got to be in the business of construction. So you builders, electricians, plumbers, landscape gardeners, anyone who is in the business of building. We've had a number of people come to us who are building, so they're building their own house. So as a one-off, no, we sort of don't allow those people to sort of become members of the cooperative. But look, if you're doing renovations or repairs or even commercial builds, as long as you're in the business of construction, you can become a member of the cooperative. And look, we're not a buying club. As a cooperative, you have to buy shares to become a member. So you buy a parcel of 1,000 shares for $1,000, and that's it. There's no ongoing fee. There's no management fee. There's no other liabilities that you're obligated for. Pay $1,000, buy 1,000 shares, and that's it. Obviously, we've got a disclosure document, and Trudy, you're going to email that out to everyone so that you can understand exactly how it works. Fill out the application form, and then set up an account with each of our suppliers. And again, I'll talk about who our suppliers are in a minute, and then start getting access to the co-op rates. So what we've done is we've negotiated essentially 2 things from each supplier. One is an upfront discount, so that when you walk in and you buy your building materials, you get an upfront discount greater, equivalent to that of a group home buyer. And then at the end of the year, we've negotiated a volume-based rebate with everyone, and that comes back to the supplier, to each of the shareholders as a proportionate share of the amount of money that they spend on an annual basis through each supplier.
Quick question. Can you sell the shares? Like if you at some point you don't want to be part of this anymore, what's the process?
Okay, no, you can't, and that's sort of standard for most cooperatives. So these shares aren't tradable. So unlike say buying Fletcher's shares on the stock exchange, where the shares sort of go up and down depending on what the demand is. The value isn't in actually buying the shares. It's basically sort of allowing you into the club. Really, the value that each shareholder gets is in the savings that we've negotiated up front, and then based on how much money each individual shareholder spends, they get a rebate based on what they've spent rather than how many shares they own. Okay, so another really common question we get is that, well, it sounds really good, but how much money am I going to save? And the answer is really that depends on what you build and how much money you spend. Trudy, one of the things that again I'm going to get you to sort of send out is a QS example of a house that we've had done that shows about an 11% saving across the board on building materials. But essentially, if I was to sort of sum it up in sort of one sentence, look, what we've done is negotiated the same rates as group home builders. And I was talking to you before about Plumbing World. So Plumbing World, who's one of our suppliers, they've got 8 pricing tiers. So if I was to walk into Plumbing World on a Saturday morning and buy a shower mixer, then I'd pay the ticket price, which is essentially their tier rate number 8. So what we've done is we've negotiated exactly the same rates as GJ gardeners get. So anyone who's a member of the cooperative buying plumbing supplies, again, unless you're housing New Zealand, you can't really get a better rate than that. And again, as I said, over and above that, we've negotiated the upfront discount. We've negotiated that overall volume-based rebate, which suppliers sort of give back to us based on the volume spent. Trudy, here's a list of all of our national suppliers. So there's some really well-recognised names in there. Bunnings Trade, Hirepool, Noel Leemings, Kitchen Things. There's some really good deals from these guys. We've got about another dozen national suppliers that we're negotiating with at the moment, and I suspect that by this time next year, look, I should be able to sell you a Ford Ranger, your petrol, and a mobile phone. So eventually, we'll cover all aspects of business.
Right.
So here, look, here's just a couple of sort of testimonials from our current shareholders. And look, it's for most of our suppliers. Look, even one or two trades, and they're sort of making their money back. So there's some really good deals to be done out there. So I guess I'll just sort of wrap up with one last sort of quote from Phil Twyford, sort of talking about the value of the co-op. Okay.
Minister, thank you very much for coming down to the launch of Combined Building Supplies Cooperative. It's absolutely fabulous to have you here today. Tell us a little bit why you think the cooperative might be good for the construction industry.
Well, Mike, I'm just so happy to be here to support this new initiative and encourage you guys, because I think it's a really overdue and valuable thing that you're doing. The opportunity to deliver value for the customers of all these building firms, to drive down build costs, and make all of these firms more successful in the process. It will be good for the economy, good for New Zealand.
It was a little bit quiet, I think, but I do have another question that's just come in from Scott. 1 second. Will you be focusing on local suppliers? Because I know you kicked off in Christchurch and you got a whole bunch of locals.
Yep.
You've now got nationals. Are you going to be focusing on local?
Look, absolutely. I mean, obviously, I'll just go back to our suppliers. I mean, obviously, what we've tried to do just to get the absolute best deals to start with is to sort of try and focus on New Zealand-wide suppliers, so that we can provide great rates right across the country. A really good example here in Christchurch, we're sort of talking to a couple of sort of smaller specialist building supply companies that provide specialist timbers or sort of mouldings and bits and pieces that you wouldn't necessarily get from a big building supply merchant. So again, down the track, we'll have lots of individual suppliers in each local sort of market. Again, just to sort of get the best deals to builders to start with. We've sort of focused on the really big suppliers, but obviously over time we'll sort of fill that out and be able to supply in all areas of the construction industry.
Okay, so I guess now we're in Q&A because I'm getting a few piling through. So another question is, I'm based in Wanaka, I don't have a Bunnings. Are they coming? What happens there? Will they deliver? That type of thing.
Okay, so certainly with Bunnings, obviously Bunnings has 55 stores New Zealand wide, and they will literally deliver all over. Bunnings are looking at building a store in Queenstown at the moment, but they will deliver out of their Dunedin store. So I mean, obviously there'll be freight costs involved in that, but we certainly believe that by comparison to any other trade supplier into those markets there, that you can buy from literally all of these suppliers, and they'll be able to sort of ship to you if you don't have one down the road from you.
Awesome. Next question is, so once I've signed up, what is the process? Do you let my Bunnings rep know? Do I let my suppliers who are CBS co-op suppliers know? What's the process there?
Okay, so once you've filled out the application form and you've been approved as a shareholder, again, we have a bit of a vetting process to make sure that you actually are in the business of construction. We'll send you a pack in the post. You'll get a share certificate, you'll get a membership card. We'll update you to our suppliers list, which we then send out to all of our suppliers. If you have, probably if you already have a Bunnings account or a High Pole account, then all you've got to do is contact your rep that you're already dealing with, and they'll just convert you to the CBS rate. If you don't have an account with any one of these suppliers and want to start buying, you'll need to set up a trade account. We'll give you the contact details for all of the reps in your local area, so you can reach out to them, or alternatively, we'll give your name to them and they'll contact you.
Okay, great. Another question: how does a potential supplier go about being involved?
Okay, all right. So look, after we launched in April, the phone rang off the hook with people who with building supply companies, literally from all over the world. You wouldn't believe the number of people that contacted me. So anyone who's interested in supplying to the cooperative, I would suggest they contact you in the first instance, Trudy, and then you can sort of forward their contact details on to me. We have a standard supply agreement, which we can sort of forward on, and then we can sort of just talk to those suppliers individually about the deals they might be able to offer the cooperative.